What makes a car truly elegant? Its price, its badge, its speed, or that quiet presence that makes everyone look even when the car isn't trying to attract attention? During the 1960s, Europe created some of the most refined automobiles of all time. They weren't exaggerated. They didn't need massive chrome trim or impossible designs. Their elegance came from their proportions, their clean lines, their sophisticated interiors, and engines capable of crossing an entire continent with absolute authority. And before we begin, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you also believe that European classics had a level of class that many modern cars have simply lost. 1967 Iso Grifo. This car didn't simply look elegant, it looked dangerous in an Italian suit. Because the Iso Grifo combined something very few European cars of the 1960s could offer: Italian styling, grand touring refinement, and American muscle hidden beneath the hood. It wasn't a Ferrari, and it wasn't a Lamborghini. It was something rarer, more exclusive, and for many enthusiasts, even more interesting. Iso wasn't a brand created to conquer the world through high production numbers. It was an Italian company that wanted to build cars for a very specific type of buyer. Someone who wanted the beauty and prestige of a European grand tourer, combined with the strength, reliability, and character of an American engine. And the Grifo represented that philosophy almost perfectly. Its body, designed by Giorgetto Giugiaro during his time at Bertone, had a low, long, and incredibly clean presence. The hood seemed endless, the cabin was set far back, and the bodywork struck the perfect balance between elegance and quiet menace. It didn't need exaggerated aggression to look powerful. Under the hood, the Iso Grifo featured Chevrolet V8 engines, including 327 cubic inch versions, producing between 300 and 350 horsepower, depending on the specification. That made it a true high-speed grand tourer. It wasn't just a beautiful car to park outside an elegant hotel. It was capable of exceeding 150 miles per hour, a level of performance that very few luxury cars could match during the 1960s. But what makes it even more special is its rarity. The Iso Grifo was built in extremely limited numbers, with only a few hundred examples produced throughout its entire production run. That meant it was already an automobile reserved for a very small group of buyers when it was new. Today, that combination of Italian styling, an American V8, and limited production has made it one of the most desirable collector cars in the world. The finest examples can easily exceed $400,000, while special versions can command significantly higher prices. 1962 Ferrari 250 GT Lusso. This car didn't look like it was designed for racing. It looked like it was designed to be remembered. The 250 GT Lusso represents one of the purest expressions of Italian elegance from the 1960s. It wasn't Ferrari's most extreme model, nor its most brutal, nor its most competition-focused. Its purpose was something entirely different. It was a refined grand tourer, a Ferrari built to cross long distances with style, speed, and a level of beauty so perfectly balanced that it still feels almost impossible to improve today. Unlike Ferrari's more aggressive models, the Lusso had a softer presence. The long hood, compact cabin, gracefully sloping roofline, and clean rear end created an almost perfect silhouette. Nothing looked out of place. Under the hood sat the legendary 3-liter Colombo FEV12, producing around 240 horsepower, a very respectable figure for its era. But the numbers were only part of the story. It could exceed 150 miles per hour, yet it never felt like a wild machine. Instead, it felt like an expensive, precise, and sophisticated grand tourer, built for people who wanted speed without sacrificing elegance. Production was also extremely limited. Ferrari built approximately 350 examples of the 250 GT Lusso between 1962 and 1964. That makes it one of the most sought-after classic Ferraris, not only because of its beauty, but also because of its rarity and its importance in the brand's history. Today, a 250 GT Lusso can be worth several $1 million, especially when it retains documented history, original colors, and a Concours quality restoration. But beyond its value, this car belongs on this list because it proves something important. Elegance doesn't always come from being the most aggressive. Sometimes it comes from being the most balanced. 1966 Lamborghini 400 GT. This car didn't look like the Lamborghini the world would later come to know, and that's exactly why it was so elegant. Before the brand became famous for building extreme, low-slung, aggressive, and almost theatrical automobiles, Lamborghini was producing refined grand tourers. Cars created not to look wild on a poster, but to challenge Ferrari in luxury, performance, and sophistication. The 400 GT perfectly represents that early chapter. It was understated by Lamborghini standards, yet anything but ordinary. It featured clean bodywork, beautifully balanced proportions, and a sophisticated presence that felt closer to an aristocratic grand tourer than to a dramatic supercar. It wasn't trying to intimidate, it was trying to persuade. Under the hood was a 4-liter V12 producing around 320 horsepower, making it an exceptionally serious automobile for the mid-1960s. It was certainly fast, but it was also comfortable, refined, and designed to cover long distances with confidence. Production was equally exclusive. Lamborghini built just over 200 examples of the 400 GT, making it one of the rarest models from the company's earliest years. Today, the finest examples can easily exceed $500,000, thanks to their rarity and historical significance. Before we continue, let me know in the comments, do you prefer this elegant and understated 1960s Lamborghini, or the more aggressive and extreme Lamborghinis that came later? Because the next car changes both country and personality completely. 1968 BMW 2800 CS. This car wasn't built to impress through excess. It was built to demonstrate precision. The 2800 CS marked an important chapter for the German brand. At a time when BMW was still establishing its international reputation as a manufacturer of sophisticated sports cars, this coupe helped define a new vision of European elegance. Cleaner, more modern. It didn't have the theatrical presence of a Ferrari or the aristocratic weight of a Bentley. Its charm came from somewhere else. Perfectly balanced proportions, delicate lines, a bright, airy cabin, and a silhouette that looked effortlessly elegant. It was the kind of car that didn't need to look exotic to feel special, and that made it unmistakably German. The 2800 CS projected a sense of lightness and class. Its low front end, slim pillars, simple character line, and gracefully sloping roof turned it into one of the most refined coupes of the late 1960s. But it wasn't just about appearances. Under the hood was a 2.8-liter inline-six, producing around 170 horsepower. It wasn't an outrageous figure compared to the great Italian V12s, but the BMW delivered a completely different experience, smoothness, precision, and handling that was far more agile than many traditional luxury cars. Production numbers were never particularly high, and over time, the 2800 CS became one of the most important foundations for the great BMW coupes that followed, including the E9 family, now highly prized by collectors. Today, the finest examples can command exceptionally high prices, especially when they have been carefully preserved or professionally restored. 1967, Aston Martin DBS. This car didn't look like a complete break from the past. It looked like evolution with greater confidence. The DBS arrived at a crucial moment for the brand. After the tremendous prestige earned by models like the DB5 and DB6, Aston Martin needed to move forward. It couldn't remain tied forever to the same classic 1960s silhouette, and the DBS became that transition. Lower, more modern. Unlike the DB5, whose beauty was softer and more rounded, the DBS introduced straighter lines, a more serious stance, and a more mature presence. It was an Aston Martin prepared for a new era, while still preserving that unmistakable British grand touring character. It wasn't trying to look extravagant, it was trying to look sophisticated, and that was precisely what made it so special. Its design projected authority without relying on excess. The wide front end, low body, clean roofline, and grand coupe proportions gave it an elegant appearance, but with a stronger personality than its predecessors. Under the hood, the first DBS models were powered by a 4.0-liter inline-six, producing around 280 horsepower. It delivered more than enough performance to move the car with smoothness and character, perfectly maintaining its identity as a fast, comfortable, and distinguished grand tourer. Production was also limited. especially when compared to models from larger manufacturers. Aston Martin remained an exclusive company, giving every DBS a more handcrafted, rarer feel that appealed to buyers searching for something truly different. Today, the DBS continues to grow in value among collectors because it represents a pivotal moment in Aston Martin's history. It became the bridge between the brand's classic elegance and a cleaner, more modern, and more commanding design language. 1962. Facel Vega Facel II. This car didn't look French in the traditional sense. It looked like a diplomatic passport on wheels. The Facel II became one of the great symbols of European luxury in the early 1960s. It wasn't a mass-produced automobile, a conventional sports car, or a coupe built for ordinary buyers. It was a machine created for an international elite that wanted something different from a Ferrari, an Aston Martin, or a Mercedes. Something rarer, more personal. Facel Vega built its cars around a unique formula: European styling, luxurious interiors, and powerful American V8 engines. The result was a refined, high-performance Grand Tourer with a presence that seemed equally at home in Paris and Hollywood. It was low, elegant, and exceptionally sophisticated. Its twin-headlight front end, long profile, and richly appointed interior created an atmosphere of serious luxury, almost diplomatic in character. It wasn't elegant because it was understated. It was elegant because it looked reserved for important people. Under the hood was a 6.3-liter Chrysler V8 producing more than 350 horsepower, depending on the version. That allowed it to exceed 135 miles per hour, an impressive figure for a luxury Grand Tourer of its era. But the Facel II wasn't just about performance, it was about exclusivity. Only around 180 examples were built, making it one of the rarest European Grand Tourers of the 1960s. Today, the finest examples can easily exceed $300,000, thanks to their rarity, design, and prestige. Before we continue, let me know in the comments. If you could choose a rare European Grand Tourer from the 1960s, would you pick the Facel Vega for its exclusivity? Or would you rather own a more famous name like Ferrari, Aston Martin, or Lamborghini? I'd love to hear your opinion in the comments. 1966. Ferrari 330 GT. This Ferrari didn't look like it was built to chase records. It looked like it was built to travel in style. The 330 GT represents Ferrari's more refined side during the 1960s. It wasn't the brand's most extreme model or its most famous, but it possessed something equally important: the elegance of a Grand Tourer designed to cover long distances with speed, comfort, and prestige. It was a Ferrari for someone who wanted performance, but also wanted space, smoothness, and a more mature image. Its design projected a very different character from the 250 Lusso. It was larger, more serious, and closer to the world of luxury than to the racetrack. The long hood, spacious cabin, and clean lines gave it the appearance of an expensive, sophisticated automobile built for a buyer who didn't need to prove anything. And that's exactly what made it special. Under the hood was a 4-liter V12 producing around 300 horsepower. That was enough to push the car beyond 150 miles per hour, yet the goal was never to feel brutal. It was designed to move quickly with elegance, to cross Europe's highways accompanied by the sound of a V12 up front and the comfort of a true Grand Tourer. Production was higher than that of some ultra-rare Ferraris, but it remained limited compared to any conventional luxury automobile. That preserved its exclusivity and reinforced its reputation as a Ferrari for true connoisseurs. Today, the 330 GT remains highly regarded because it offers something that many modern sports cars have lost: balance. 1964. Aston Martin DB6. This car didn't seem to be trying to surpass the DB5. It felt like it had matured from it. The DB6 arrived with a difficult mission: to continue one of the brand's most famous and elegant lineages while making the car more comfortable, more stable, and more practical as a Grand Tourer. And that made it one of Aston Martin's most refined cars of the 1960s. At first glance, it retained that unmistakable British presence: a long hood, an elegant cabin, perfectly balanced proportions, and an image of understated luxury. But the DB6 was more than just a visual evolution. It featured a slightly longer body, improved interior space, and more advanced aerodynamics. including its distinctive cam-style tail. That detail gave it a personality all its own. It wasn't as famous as the DB5, but it was more mature. Under the hood was a 4.0-liter inline-six, producing around 282 horsepower in standard form. That was enough to push the car beyond 140 miles per hour, while maintaining the feeling of a fast, elegant, and unmistakably British Grand Tourer. The DB6 wasn't built to attract attention through extravagance. It was built for someone who appreciated the value of a clean silhouette, a refined interior, and a brand that represented class without needing any explanation. Production remained limited, with just over 1,700 examples built between 1965 and 1970, making it one of the most desirable Aston Martin classics today. The finest examples, especially Vantage and Volante models, can command exceptionally high prices. An Aston Martin built to travel fast, comfortably, and with a presence that has never lost its charm. 1968, Mercedes-Benz 280 SE. This car didn't seem designed to impress at first glance. It seemed designed to remain elegant for decades. It represented a distinctly German interpretation of luxury during the 1960s. It wasn't theatrical like a Ferrari, exotic like a Lamborghini, or aristocratic like a Bentley. It was something different: precision, silence, quality. Unlike many luxury cars of the era, the 280 SE didn't rely on visual excess. Its lines were clean, its profile understated, and its presence conveyed one very clear message. This was an expensive automobile, but it didn't need to remind anyone. The most important detail was its balance. The pillarless roof gave it a light and sophisticated silhouette, while the classic Mercedes front end preserved that serious, refined, and dependable character. It was the kind of car built for executives, diplomats, and people who wanted luxury without looking like they were trying to attract attention. Under the hood was a 2.8-liter inline-six producing around 160 horsepower. Its mission was to move with smoothness, with stability, with the reassuring feeling that everything had been engineered to outlast the trends of its time. The 280 SE has become one of the most elegant classic Mercedes models of its generation, thanks to its exceptional build quality, clean design, and understated image of luxury. The finest examples can command impressive prices today, especially those that retain excellent originality or have been correctly restored. 1965, Bentley T1. This car wasn't built to attract attention. It was built so it never had to. It represented one of the most understated and sophisticated expressions of British luxury during the 1960s. It wasn't an Italian Grand Tourer, a sporty coupe, or a machine designed to stand out through radical styling. It was a luxury sedan for people who didn't need to prove anything, and that was precisely what made it so elegant. It shared much of its foundation with the Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow, but the Bentley had a different personality, less ceremonial, more understated, closer to the idea of a car for someone who valued comfort, silence, and prestige without turning every arrival into a spectacle. Its design was clean, formal, and remarkably restrained. Nothing felt exaggerated. The grille, straight body lines, tall roof, and elegant stance projected an image of quiet authority. It wasn't trying to look exciting. It was trying to look important. Under the hood was a 6.2-liter V8, more than capable of moving the car with effortless smoothness. Bentley rarely discussed horsepower figures during that era, because the point was never to impress with numbers. The point was to deliver effortless power, the kind of silent acceleration that never made a scene, yet always made it clear the car had plenty in reserve. Today, well-preserved examples still convey a very distinctive feeling. They don't look like fashionable cars. They look like cars with pedigree. The Bentley T1 closes this list because it represents a different definition of elegance. The kind of automobile that never had to announce it belonged to a higher class. It simply looked like it did. And in the end, that's exactly what makes all of these cars so special. They weren't elegant because they tried too hard to impress. They were elegant because they possessed proportion, presence, and character. Now I'd like to hear your opinion. Of all the European cars from the 1960s we've seen today, which one do you think is the most elegant? The Ferrari 250 GT Lusso, the Aston Martin DB6, the Mercedes-Benz 280 SE Coupe? Or would you choose something rarer, like the Iso Grifo or the Facel Vega? Let me know in the comments because your choice always makes these lists even more interesting. And if you enjoyed this journey through the elegance of 1960s Europe, don't miss the video now appearing on your screen, where we explore the most luxurious European cars of the 1950s. Click on it, because before Europe refined its lines during the 1960s, it had already built machines filled with prestige, craftsmanship, and classic luxury that were impossible to ignore. I'll see you in the next video.